you are interested what is happening in cybercrime, you must see this film.
Where people are being threatened, people are being told that something wrong has happened. We've intercepted something which was meant for you. It's got contraband goods or some such thing.
How do they pick up their victims?
There are vulnerable human emotions which the fraudsters are obviously playing around. I mean, we've had cases where full-fledged branches have been set up in some small towns.
One ex-central banker, a very senior person of Reserve Bank of India, became a victim of such a fraud.
Most importantly, taking the responsibility for your own actions is very, very necessary.
I think I got the idea. Let's talk about cybercrime. Huh?
Whatever you say.
Smile. ठीक है. Good. No, seriously, I mean, all of us during the COVID days, I think the Jamtara that on Netflix, all of us have seen that. Sabka number aayega. But that Jamtara, that phishing scam is passe now. And trust you me, if you are interested what is happening in cybercrime, you must see this film. It's a 2024 film is The Beekeeper. Just get it there, The Beekeeper. There you will see a school teacher, Parker, how she became a victim of fraud. She lost everything, and plus $2 million which she was saving for a charitable work, etc. And that shows the new face of cybercrime. Nitin, I mean, I'm serious about it. Just tell us this, the so-called social engineering. Every day we are hearing different kind of cybercrime. Even Prime Minister Mann Ki Baat, he spoke about that. So what's happening all around?
I think we're just seeing new variations of how fear is now being used more than greed. So in the earlier years, maybe a few years back, predominant theme was greed, that you won a lottery, you got a job, there is something that your inheritance kind of scams. So that was largely driven from greed. What we're seeing now is a lot of intimidation and fear, where people are being threatened, people are being told that something wrong has happened. We've intercepted something which was meant for you. It's got contraband goods or some such thing. And that is where people are succumbing to, and well-educated people, completely aware people are succumbing to the intimidation, from calls like these. And it's a new trend. And no matter how much we make people aware that, don't entertain these calls, don't give away your credentials, the circumstances in which these calls are being made, sometimes they will even fake a family member who's been held in custody. And you can actually hear the family member asking for help, saying that I'm under arrest and, a cop is sitting next to me, or it's a video call and you can't see that person, but yeah, it's a family member's voice. And people don't usually, in a state of panic, apply their mind rationally. So they give in. And we have seen instances where over a period of 3 days, 4 days, people are willingly going to branches and making RTGS and EFT transfers because somebody has threatened them saying that if you don't do this, we've placed you under arrest.
In State Bank of India, you are seeing this.
No, I'm talking about industry. I'm not talking about State Bank of India in specific. But cases like these basically tell you that there are vulnerable human emotions which the fraudsters are obviously playing around. And this is yet another form of social engineering, and this is relatively new. And that's why I think the Prime Minister also spoke about this whole digital arrest kind of scams which are taking place.
Yeah, this social engineering in cybersecurity, that's the relatively new thing that we are hearing. What does it actually mean is this I picked up from Google or whatever you call it, a psychological attack that involves manipulating people into sharing sensitive information or taking action that compromises security. So that's what is happening.
Yeah.
And you were saying the earlier it was greed, like I am being tempted to get some money, I've been lured into that. Now it is fear.
Fear.
And some real life incidents we have been hearing much, but sitting in your perch, what do you see? How it's evolving?
So we are seeing different kinds of modus operandi playing out right now. Wherever small ticket values are involved, you will not find the scamsters making an effort to go through this whole process of intimidating, threatening, pretending to be dressed up as a cop and having a video call. They don't do that for small value transactions. They will usually do that for high value transactions, and high value could be as many as a few crores. For small value, these are usually the traditional phishing-based scams where people willingly give away their credentials or an account takeover or those kind of things.
That's the Jamtara model.
That's
small
the Jamtara.
value Jamtara.
Yeah,
on how do they pick up their victims? Just for our understanding.
So that is almost like.
Is it like because everybody can keep a tab on the data? I mean, which flight I am taking, if I am a business class or I'm an economy class passenger on flight, what kind of hotel I am checking in, what I am buying, everything is available. So
Yeah.
is it the, I mean, that's how they gather information and that's how they find their victims whom to attack? I mean, can you tell us more?
We would like to believe that they do.
Can somebody ask the outside stall to stop them making the noise? Yeah, please.
We would like to believe that that is how they do it, but I think the way we've figured it out so far is that it's almost like a cold calling, carpet bombing mechanism. That you call 100 people, you will get 2 or 3 victims. So this movie that you referred to, Beekeeper,
You have seen that?
I've seen that movie and I've been recommending to everybody to watch that movie. There are organized contact centers who will just keep making calls.
No, Nitin, I'm just trying to use this platform to educate us, all of us, because you are the tech head of India's largest bank, 20% of banking system. So you have a much better perspective than anybody else, any of us. You just educate us. How does it happen? How does a victim fall prey? And how does he or she forgets whatever it is for the time being under a spell? What's all about?
See, there are hundreds of ways that this can happen. What we were talking about in terms of social engineering is the simplest, that somebody gets a call saying that I'm a policeman, I'm calling you for XYZ reason, and this is what you need to do. The old-fashioned way is to actually, like if you watch this movie Beekeeper, it actually starts very simply by this old lady that you refer to. She gets an alert on her laptop saying that it is out of service, call this number. She calls that number and it's a fake number, obviously. So even today, if you search for customer service handles on Twitter, X, or you search for contact center numbers, there is always so much of generation of these fake call center numbers also that the scamsters are doing, that customers will end up calling a fake call center. The fake call center will give them, send them a link and say that this is where you do and this is what you do. Exactly what happens in this movie also, The Beekeeper. So she actually ends up downloading a malware. The malware on her laptop, which compromises her laptop, and then the account takeover happens, and that's how the money moves out, because the credentials get compromised. So she hasn't given it away willingly, but because it's a malware that's got installed on the laptop through a link. Now that link can come through hundreds of different ways. We believe that it's only an email that you should not click and this and that, but what if you get a call? Or you have called a contact center saying that, believing that it's a genuine contact center. I mean, we've had cases where full-fledged branches have been set up in some small towns of banks.
Now,
so
please
there is a lot of innovation in this space. No matter whichever way you look, I think there are probably very smart brains behind figuring out what to do.
Other part also is happening, that the use of in the deep fake, somebody calling in some other's voice, that can be imitated, or I'm getting a phone call on my WhatsApp which is actually showing your face but not you and all. And I am told that once, I would not like to name, but one ex-central banker, a very senior person of Reserve Bank of India, became a victim of such a fraud. That person lost a lot of money on this. So how do you prevent that? And it's becoming a rampant. I have come across one incident. Of course, this ex-RBI person, very senior person, I would not reveal the identity I'm talking about. Even that person could become a victim of this thing. Very recently, another person, I found that got a call from his friend, the US number, got a call. That person landed up in Delhi for some work, needed some money, transferred the money, and after that, when he was calling, actually his friend in New York woke up because the call is the wrong time. He said, "No, I have not been to India at all." So his voice was the deep fake happened, his photograph happened, and all. So what's the way of preventing this? Tell us.
See, we live in a world which is now proliferated with tech everywhere. And I think it is everyone's individual responsibility. Rather than believing that, yes, my bank is keeping my money safe. Yes, the bank is a fiduciary, it will keep your money safe. But then what if you on your own compromise your credentials? And that is where even the law doesn't help you, beyond a point, right? Everybody should have a basic idea of what technology is being used. People sometimes just take pride in saying, I don't understand. And, because I don't understand, I'm better off, doing things in a certain way, which is fine. But when it comes to matters related to your own personal security and financial and money in your own hard-earned money in your bank account, I think it is important to at least be aware that what can happen. So when somebody actually calls or messages using a DP of a known person on a WhatsApp with a different number, and you don't make the effort of actually verifying that whether it's the same number or coming from because the number is not stored in your phone book. So you're not getting the name, you're only getting the DP. So why would a known person make a call to you from another number? It should trigger some alert trigger some suspicion in your mind to say that, should I even take this call? Should I call back to confirm? And every time I've received calls like those, you don't take the call, but when you return the call, the guy will immediately block you because they know that, you figured out that, it's a fake call. So I think some basic checks which are required, basic awareness, and most importantly, taking the responsibility for your own actions is very, very necessary.
I'll come back. I'll ask you your suggestions and advice to all of us how to not to fall prey to this kind of thing later. But a few things I want to understand from you. One is this: we keep on hearing at various conversations whenever there's cyber security is Mule account. Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. What I understand is this: I have become a victim of a fraud. Suppose I lost 5 lakh or whatever I will. Now this 5 lakh left my bank account, right? And at stage 2, what happens is this is 5 lakh maybe cut into some hundreds of pieces, and 5,000 rupees gets into some 100 accounts or 200 accounts, depending on how it's given and all. And these are called Mule accounts. You can't do much about it because those accounts have the KYC and other things have been done and all. And those guys in some villages somewhere, they have become a party to it, probably knowingly or unknowingly. So can you tell us, educate us again, what is this phenomenon of Mule accounts? Everywhere we hear this. And how does it operate? And is there any way to prevent it or catch them? I understand it's very difficult to catch them because I spoke to relevant authorities also. They said, look, they are all KYC compliant. On what basis I will suspend those accounts? Tell us.
So as a concept, Mule account is somebody who lends his or her account for a...
And I understand that many of the Jan Dhan accounts are being used like many, meaning I'm not saying that 10% or 15% or something, but maybe lakhs of such accounts are being periodically used as Mule accounts.
I wouldn't say only Jan Dhan or largely Jan Dhan, because anybody who believes that there is an incentive for letting their account being used and succumbs to the fact that, okay, I will let my account be used for, let's say, transacting 5,000 rupees, but I will get 500 rupees out of that.
Oh, that's how it works.
So that is how the mules are recruited. It's not like, somebody gets money in their bank account out of the blue and then they get a call to say, listen, you got money in your bank account, no, please withdraw this money, somebody is coming to collect. It doesn't happen that way.
Okay.
Mules are pre-recruited and it is part of an organized setup. They don't know what they're recruited for. Okay, so they are recruited, loosely calling it almost like a sleeper cell. So they are kept in readiness to say that at some point in time, you will get a message that there is going to be a transaction in your account. The only thing you need to do is to go withdraw that money, and we will tell you where to bring that money to. And this is the money that you can retain. So the way to prevent this, because the money has left, for example, from your account and gone into 100 accounts.
Yes.
Okay. Now there are technology-led ways to prevent this. For example, for cross-border payments, Interpol has a setup called iGrip, okay, which is something called Global Rapid Intervention for Payments, which is cross-country. And recently enough, in the month of July, they actually stopped a $43 million scam, which happened because of a business email compromise. Now, what is business email compromise? That I'm your supplier, and you are my client. Instead of me, somebody sends you an email saying that instead of this account, you credit to that account. And this is exactly what happened with the Singapore firm. They remitted $43 million to a fake supplier account. But when they reported this to the Interpol IGRIP, they went to the beneficiary country's police, and they have a protocol where they can stop the funds from moving out. So in India also, through I4C and the National Cybercrime Portal, the next set of things which are happening is actually be able to stop. Because once the money moves from your account, you get alerted, or the bank's risk management system will generate an alert. So before the money moves to those 100 accounts and the 100 accounts withdraw it, there has to be an ability to stop it. So that is the new thing that is hopefully going to help us.
That Interpol is working on it.
No. Interpol is working on cross-country.
Yes.
What we need, something similar, is also within India. But to identify who can become a Mule account is another science by itself. That who's likely to become a Mule account, who's likely to lend his or her account to something like this. But that is, that is something which has a whole lot of...
Typically, I hear that it's all happening in the rural India and the farmers and
it can happen anywhere.
Unemployed people. I mean, essentially, I am being told that, look, 5,000 bucks will come to your account, and you withdraw the money and give me 4,500, and 500 is yours. That's how it works. Right?
See, there is...
Give a real-life example. I'm sure you have come across many.
I don't want to name a city or a specific case, but we've even come across students of good colleges getting involved unknowingly. Because
unknowingly kaise hota hai boss? Because when you are telling me that Tamal 5,000 bucks will get into your account and you keep 500 and giving me for 4,500.
Because the same people in general, invariably, are always deal hunting for something or the other. Can I get 100 rupees off here? Can I get 200 rupees cash back here? Okay. So the mindset becomes very, very small ticket gratification.
Okay.
That, oh, today I made 500 bucks.
Okay.
It's a big thing to flash in your social circle. Okay, maybe it's happening with the uneducated, the uninformed people as well, but we are seeing that anybody who gives into the temptation that I have to do nothing, I have to basically withdraw and I can make 500 rupees in a matter of 5 minutes, anybody can give into that temptation.
So as a bank...
This is where greed plays in. The Mule invariably gives into greed.
Okay. No, but as a bank, what can you do? Because I am a genuine account holder. I have my KYC, etc. done, but I am being used and I have become a Mule. So what can a bank do? Can you suspend my account, or can you report it to the police and I am a guilty person? How does it work?
So the first thing we ask customers is to report if you would find anything unusual in your account. Okay, if you find an unusual credit in your account, report back to your bank. A lot of times in the past, we've seen people thinking that, oh, I've been blessed and suddenly money has come into my account and must be my good deeds of the past, so let me go and spend this money. It doesn't happen that way. Somebody is using your account. Okay, so that is something which is...
I am told also in some cases, I would not name the geography, that people are being told that it's the PM's money, PM's relief fund is coming to your account. Is that also?
Anything is possible. You can be told it's a scholarship, it is something, some inheritance that you're getting, some long lost relative has sent you this money. Anything can be there. But finally, it is unusual. So what banks can do is, one, we are letting our customers know that please report something like this. But even to be able to preempt that this kind of a transaction can actually take place, there is data science which can help us in pre-identifying that who are the people who are more vulnerable to something like this. One, who are the people who are more vulnerable to being or susceptible to fraud, okay? And who are the people who are more vulnerable to being used as mules. Right? So two different categories.
Yes.
Now this is where we are now actually having a discussion that in our desire to make everything seamless, frictionless, very easy, very quick, why don't we bring in some amount of a new term that I learned only 2 weeks ago, something called happy friction, that builds some bit of necessary friction, at least for vulnerable profiles, so that they have to go through some step of authentication, some more checks before they can actually move their money willingly. If they're doing it unwillingly, then it's obviously an account takeover, which can be through a malware or some other thing. But if you're willingly giving away money, there should be some more checks for some vulnerable profiles, which usually will not be as part of your regular pattern of spending money.
So that's prevention. But once you identify me as a Mule account holder, is there any way you can punish me?
So we we obviously can't punish. As a bank, you can't punish an account holder. But you can
in
report.
in a sense, suspending my account or reporting to police.
So you re-verify the credentials of the account, you ask a few questions. If the questions are not satisfactory, you report the account as a suspicious transaction and a suspicious account. And then the law takes its own course. You can obviously go ahead and block a few accounts, and we've recently done that in a different kind of issues that came up, which was around merchants, where we saw customers raising chargeback complaints. Okay? And we did see that there were very specific a few hundred customers who were raising these chargeback complaints again and again. And then we found that this was a fairly organized sort of a...
No, that's what I'm just, you have taken away my question actually. I wanted to understand that bit. So this is one account where I lose money, I become a victim of fraud, then the money leaves my account, and then stage 2 Mule account, etc. happens, or my money can also flow to cross-border Nigeria or somewhere else. You have to find out. But the chargeback fraud, those who are not familiar with the term chargeback fraud is like this. Suppose I go to a provision stores and I buy rice and atta or anything like that, and I pay theoretically 500 bucks or say 5,000 rupees and all. I pay through UPI. And then I say, look, I don't need this thing, you just take it back. I give it back to the shopkeeper, and the shopkeeper returns that 5,000 rupees to me. But then I go back to the bank where UPI I've been using and all, and I tell that, look, I have paid this money, 5,000 rupees, but I have not got the stuff. I have not got my rice and atta and etc. etc. I understand that in Jaipur, Rajasthan, it happened and became like thousands and thousands of people have been doing that. Is that correct? I heard that recently, maybe a local newspaper or something. This is called chargeback fraud. I have not heard anything in Mumbai, but I can distinctly remember in Rajasthan, particularly in Jaipur and all. So tell us about that.
So the modus operandi is exactly the same, that customers will buy something or pretend that they're buying something, return it back immediately, take the money, and yet raise a dispute saying that I did not get my goods and services. So there's a category.
I paid the money. I don't tell that I have taken the money back, and I said that I have not got my stuff what I wanted to buy.
So there is a subcategory in chargeback which says goods and services not received. So they raise a complaint under this category.
Yes.
And invariably the complaint gets ticketed to the acquiring bank who has acquired the merchant. And after some checks and controls, the banks will perform and they will refund the money back to the merchant. Okay, but effectively it's a fraud because no transaction took place. So you've effectively taken this money from the bank by saying that I did not get what I was intended to get, and then it's up to the merchant and the bank to keep figuring out what to do. So we did find.
And the amount is much smaller. So the bank also doesn't raise much hue and cry, just paisa de do usko 5,000 6,000 jo hai.
Correct.
And in Jaipur, I think thousands of such cases happened.
No, not just in Jaipur. We saw that across the country, and this happened last year. But there was increased prevalence of cases in some cities, including Jaipur.
Yes.
And so when you were asking this question as to how do you punish account holder, you can't punish, but you can create some checks and controls. So wherever we saw that, let's say one customer is raising 500 chargeback complaints in a month.
One person, 500 chargeback.
Hypothetically, or 50 also. It is unusual. So you will ask some questions, you don't get the answers, obviously you don't get any good answers. So what is the next thing you do? You go ahead and disable the account and tell the customer that I'm blocking your account for any transactions. So that is and of course report the account to the suspicious transaction unit or whatever. But that's all that you can do.
Okay. Nitin, I don't know whether it's in public domain, but if you know something, I think RBI is working on something called digital intelligence platform for this educating us and all. Can you throw some light on that? If you're aware of this, because I don't think it's been publicly announced. I'm not very sure about that.
I think the only
I wanted to ask the DG was here, but time did not permit me. So what is it all about?
No, I'm not completely aware of this, but I also picked this up, I think a few months back when RBI set up a committee. So that is when some media had reported this, that RBI has set up a committee to examine setting up a digital payments intelligence platform.
Yes.
Because the real-time payments, as much as they are beneficial and good, are also being misused for sending money, very quickly whenever it's a fraud, proceeds of a fraud. So there needs to be a collective intelligence. So the usual thing that's happening, and that's why I give the example of Interpol, this iGrip is working with 186 member countries, okay, or some such number of countries. Interpol works with 186, so I'm assuming that iGrip also works with that many countries, or maybe not sure about that. But shared intelligence is going to be very key. Intelligence not from just banks, also from other digital economy players, e-com companies, telecom companies, or all kinds of other regulators, so that this collective intelligence will help us in also finding out and narrowing down on some of these patterns and deciding that, okay, if one part of the industry is getting hit with one sort of frauds, it's only a matter of time when it spills over into another industry. So most of the themes right now are really around collaboration, that how do we collaborate and bring a collective intelligence so that we can keep pace with the way the fraudsters are thinking.
I have a couple of questions more, but let's ask audience if anybody here has become a fraud, financial fraud of serious nature or different nature, and you want to ask Nitin, this lady there, can Acha, this gentleman, and then after that, this lady.
So many.
Just make it quick, huh? Very, what is the question? Because we don't have much
question
time.
related to this conference only. I paid on 6th by my SBI credit card, 10,000 rupees. I got the successful payment message. I did not get the QR code when I arrived over here, and my name was not registered. I did not get the ID card. I raised the dispute in the SBI card. I also paid GST payment, goods and service tax. I get failure message, so I again paid in the 30 seconds. Both amount was debited. I raised immediately dispute, but now SBI card told me that you bring the Kotak card statement. I don't have any Kotak card statement. So under this surveillance mechanism, actually genuine customers are harassed every day by blocking the customer.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. No, so it's not about SBI credit card. Let's not make it any grievance redressal thing and all. But in this kind of situation, what is your advice to him? Suggestions to him?
No, my advice is very simple. I mean, this is very transaction specific, and I don't see any malified player in this whole transaction, because he's trying to pay the conference organizer through an SBI card. The payment is not going through, and therefore his QR code is not getting generated, and maybe he's paid twice. They have not received, or whatever the issue is.
Anyway,
so specifics obviously can be taken, offline. I don't have an answer to that. But the real thing to do really is to resolve this with the issuer, with the credit card company or the bank who's issued the card, because somewhere the truth lies somewhere there.
Madam, yes, please.
Sir, this question is specifically on authorized push payment fraud. Now, foreign banks have very clear policy on authorized push payment that most of the foreign banks, that we will take 50% of the burn after some investigation, and 50% will be taken by consumer. In some cases, they also take complete responsibility and pay back the customer. What is the stand of SBI on authorized push payment frauds?
Sorry, authorized what?
Authorized push payment fraud, where you share your details
She's saying
either
that
in a call, in a SMS, or whatever. OTP, etc.
Where you willingly shared your credentials?
Willingly share, yeah. That's what is authorized push payment.
So we don't have a stand different from the rest of the industry per se.
Okay.
We are obviously telling customers that please don't share. When you have shared willingly and your money has moved out through an account takeover or transaction specific, there is a workaround to that, and that is where this whole 1930 that we started the whole conference with, and there is a mechanism to at least address it and see whether we can stop the money from moving out. But if customers don't report to begin with on 1930 or the National Crime Portal, you can't really take action, because the system may not have picked it up as a fraudulent transaction. It could be just in pattern of your usual transactions. Yeah.
Quickly, Nitin does not represent SBI credit card. Okay, he is State Bank of India. So please restrict your questions to technology and tech fraud. That's we started. Nothing to do with any particular individual entity. Fine. There are
I'll talk to you separately.
So we'll not be able to take so many, but quickly, gentlemen, we'll get it to you. So please get the microphone there, and before that, this person. Yeah, please quickly.
Quickly, my name is Sachin Deshpande. This question is related to the customer category, which is senior citizens. So I would like to know, this is about not only SBI but across the whole industry, because they are the ones who are the easy target for all these fraudsters.
Yeah.
So what kind of efforts have been taken by the industry to overcome that?
Anything
that
about
is
senior
where,
citizen? Yeah, please tell us.
so not just senior citizens, any vulnerable or potentially vulnerable segments of customers. This is where we are talking about this whole concept of happy friction, that you bring in some more checks and controls. Okay, and that is again needs to be more collective in the industry. Any bank is free to take their own call, saying that I will do this with my senior citizen customers or do that with my senior citizen customers. For example, in SBI, we don't give digital access to our financial inclusion customers, the Jan Dhan accounts. We don't give that by default. Okay, and even when they come and ask for it, it's a very, very detailed process to make sure that they understand what they're getting into. In my previous bank, we did not give funds transfers facilities to senior citizens by default. They had to come and ask for it. So I think every bank will have some or the other checks and controls. Okay. But the important thing is that you build some more authentication, some more behavioral checks, some more profile-based checks.
Thanks.
Which is what I'm
Nitin.
calling as happy friction.
We are running completely out of time. I'm sorry, there are too many hands being raised, but unfortunately, because of time, we have to be fair to the next panel. This gentleman, please, quickly.
Fine,
That's the last thing, and then I'll just round it up. Please.
Thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to speak out. I'm Mr. Subir Mehta. My father became the victim of the fraud, and 1930 is not very helpful.
Okay.
The reason is that we had gone to the police station. It was a fraud by email, and my father got trapped in that. And after the fraud happened, they said that there is a consent, that you have given the consent to the person.
Okay.
So I don't think 1930 can be really helpful.
Okay. Unfortunately, that's a comment. Thank you for drawing our attention. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. So Nitin, just last thing. So essentially, the fraudsters are always ahead of us. But the best weapon is, AI, ML, everything will use, but best weapon is the education. Meaning like financial inclusion, we had an education, the campaign, etc. I think PM had started already talking about this in Man Ki Baat. So we need to educate ourselves how to prevent that. So my last thing, just if you can tell you one sentence on that, where the buck stops, who will take the responsibility? Is it the central ministry? Because there are so many components, telecom authorities, Reserve Bank of India, one fintech SR we have got and all. Is there anything in that landscape you think of, a lighthouse kind of thing which will actually guide us, the combination of multiple entities or one single entity or Reserve Bank of India? Who should take the initiative and actually see that educating us and everything else needs to be?
I think we are a little away from deciding as to who should be that one entity doing that. But what is for sure is that it is a collective and a collaborative effort to begin with. And I'll just give the...
Who are the entities?
So I don't want to take the name of entities in our context, but look at the example of, let's say, building of highways for transportation as an example, right? There are so many parties involved, but you still need to be a good, sensible driver to be able to make use of a good infrastructure, good policing, good traffic police, good civic sense, etc. If that is missing, there is going to be an accident, and you can attribute it to whoever you want to. But in reality, the buck always stops at the person who has willingly shared such kind of things. You can always keep adding more and more guardrails. Always do that.
No, that's what this gentleman said, that he said
and
his
I agree with it,
because his father probably unknowingly has blurted out some number, something,
Correct.
I don't know.
Correct.
Without knowing this, I said that. Incidentally, I also became a victim of a fraud 3 years back, 2020, 21, yeah. So this is one subject we could have gone on and on, but unfortunately it has all good things need to come to an end. He's always available on the sidelines. You can grab him and discuss with him. And if you are happy with whatever we discuss, give him a big hand. Thank you for your patience, man.